Welcome to episode 18 of the Confident Carnivore podcast, where our motto is change your fuel, change your life. Today's guests are some of our friends from the MeatRx community. We have Dunja and Alex here tonight. Hi, Dunja. Hi, Alex.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
How are you guys doing today?
we're doing good.
Very
Doing good.
thanks. How are
You
you?
guys are in Chicago, right?
Yep, yep. We've had some cold weather for a long time, and this is one of the first days I think that we hit 70 degrees. So it's kind of exciting to get into that spring mode.
Good for you. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We're really excited because you're pretty much our first, other than the Westbrooks, of course, in Dubai, but you're actually our first carnivore couple. And I know you both have incredible healing stories that you're going to tell us about. So let's start by just sharing some of your photos. You can give us a kind of quick overview of where you're starting from. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the beginning here. And can you see them? So if you guys want to just say a few words about some of these photos.
Yeah, that's a right before like a 2000. That was in 2004. We were about, but we are similar age. So Alex was about 44, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was good. And then comes 2005 when all of a sudden he's starting. 2015. Yeah, 2015 when his health really went downhill. So he was generally, sickly kid always, but then when he turned 40s, actually that 44, all of a sudden one day he started experiencing swelling all over his body. He always had some IBS issues, but this swelling, spread all over. You will see his face. That was.
I just woke up like that one morning, hobbled my way into the bathroom. As I was going to the bathroom, I glanced in the mirror, and I just kind of looked at the mirror and told my wife, I'm like, we got a problem. I think you got to get over here. Yeah. So it was kind of a shocker. But that swelling and all that craziness going on there, that lasted for about 4 months.
4 months of being this swollen?
Yeah.
Continuously?
It would come and go. This was when the face was, this is the point when they had to put him on some heavy steroids because it was becoming so scary because we were not sure if it's going to completely contract his breathing.
Oh, wow.
So that's the swelling on our arms and legs was bad and uncomfortable, but this was very scary because we did not know where it's going to go. He could just suffocate.
Yeah, the doctors had no clue what was going on. They just put me on tons of steroids, tons of anti-inflammatories. They wanted to put me on some biologic that was, it had that black warning label on it. It caused encephalitis on some people and stuff, and I just refused to take it. So
Wow.
But yeah, so they didn't know what was going on. So this lasted for almost 4 months.
That is so scary. So you didn't know what it was and they couldn't really diagnose you. So they're just giving you steroids then?
No, they said it was idiopathic
what was that?
angioedema or something weird like that. Angioedema, yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And then practically after the swelling stopped, he gained, this is the picture showing he gained like 30 pounds after being on steroids. So that's the summer after. This happened it started happening in the spring, and then for summer we went on a vacation and he was significantly more overweight than he was before. So.
Wow.
So that's how, and then actually that's the picture that comes later on. So that's after we were on a keto diet. So it started with swelling, and then the following year his colon perforated, and that's when we had to do something drastically different. And those pictures that you saw on the beach and on a pedal board, that's how he looked 2 years into the or 3 years
Keto?
with the keto. So
Okay,
The
so
keto diet, and I was kind of
yeah,
on the mend.
that was 2020. This was the past summer, and
okay.
one was. I mean, it's a big difference. And this is the day when we dropped our son to school, to college, and then the following day we started the carnivore. So that was August 23, 2020, and on August 24 was his first day. So.
Wow.
And this is me after being on a carnivore for 4 or 5 months. So this is December of this
4
year,
or 5 months.
January of this year. So
Wow.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
on carnivore almost 7.5 months.
yeah, so this was also January, us on carnivore. So,
Amazing.
and this was from a few days ago. So
Yeah, your hair looks so nice.
yeah, but I mean, it's more about my face on this picture in a swimsuit. I had such a bad brown spots all over. I mean, especially in the chin area, and I don't know if you can zoom in, but it looked really, really bad. And then after changing the diet, my face completely cleared again. So no any cosmetic treatments, no, how they call it, microdermabrasions, or I mean doing anything with the acid. It was just thanks to the change in the diet.
And you know what else is weird is that, my hair is starting to get a little bit darker for some reason. I don't know if it's the
Yeah.
carnivore diet, but before my hair was crazy gray. It was almost white. So
Wow. So
yeah.
you guys are, so it sounds like, Dunja, so can you guys just say your ages and then recap where, because you started a little bit different, right? I know you started first, Dunja, right? And then Alex, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
Yeah.
can you state your ages and your start date for carnivore?
I'm 49 and a half. I'll be 50 in July. So, and I started carnivore a week, probably 10 days after he did. So, because we still have stuff in the refrigerator. He was very eager to start, and we were empty nesters, and I was like, okay, I mean, eat whatever. I'll finish whatever we have in a refrigerator, and then after that, I'll start. So it was practically the end of August of 2020.
Okay. And then for you, Alex?
50 years old and started the carnivore, like my wife said, August 24th, 2020, and been on it ever since. And we've been pretty hardcore, we don't, there's really not much cheating going on, with this. It's strictly meat, ribeyes, organ meats, fish, venison. We try to mix it with a lot of, fat. And we just use pretty much salt, sometimes a little bit of pepper. That's it,
Wow.
yeah.
And water.
And water, yeah. And then
I eat eggs. He does not.
Oh,
He's sensitive to eggs. I can tolerate them. We don't generally eat dairy. He can eat cheeses that are well aged, like about 2 years or so. Everything else gives him issues. So
wow. So Alex, how did you even find out about carnivore when you were going through those health struggles?
There was some podcast that my wife forwarded to me.
Yeah, I was listening. Dr. Mercola and Dr. Nobi, they had a interview about a completely different subject. And then during that interview, Dr. Kobe thanked Dr. Mercola. Oh, by the way, thank you so much for recommending carnivore diet. I thought it was so extreme. I had a horrible joint pains, and he said I was so miserable that I was like, okay, whatever, I'll try it. I have nothing to lose. And then he did it for, I think, 6 months, and he was just raving about the results. So I forwarded that to Alex, and I said, listen, from this minute to this minute, I said, this guy sounds like you. So, and that was like July of 2020.
He's an eye doctor, and then he was talking about, the horrible arthritis that he had, and it started hitting him really hard in his mid 30s and into his mid-40s, he was, thinking about retiring. He had such a hard time, and
Wow.
said he went on the carnivore diet, and it took him 2 years, but every single symptom went away completely.
Wow.
Socially awkward, and he did not continue. I don't know what he's doing now. So, but in that interview, he said that it was he modified a little bit, but he said it helped tremendously.
Yeah, and after I listened to that, then we listened, Joe Rogan and Sean Baker and Saladino and Ken Berry, and then we just started going crazy, searching the whole carnivore world, trying to learn what this all was, and how it works and what's it all about. And I was sold. I was like, I got nothing to lose. So.
Yeah. And were you still taking medication at the time when you started? I mean,
I was, yeah. I was taking some allopurinol. I was, the thing was, so let's just go back and do a little, history. So when I was a kid, I was a very sickly kid. I always had, a cold. I always had, throat infection, sinus infection, tons of ear infections. I was constantly, twice a month, I'd have to go to a doctor and get, vitamin cocktail shots. So it was, I was just a sickly kid. And, growing up that way, some people just, they just figured this is just the way I am. These are my genetics, and you just got to live with it,
right.
But then going forward, I always had issues with my stomach. I always had digestive issues, constant, gas, bloating, issues with diarrhea. I mean, it got bad. It was one of those deals where you're constantly, when you're going somewhere, you're always looking, making sure that there's, where's the nearest bathroom. You're always trying to, plan that, because I didn't know what was causing all of it. It was a normal thing for me. And then, as I started getting older, it was just, kidney stones were a huge problem for me. I had acne all the time, all over my body. And I had horrible pains in my muscles. I don't know how to describe it, but it was like a burning sensation where your muscles eventually would start to go numb,
Oh, like neuropathy kind of thing?
Yeah, it was weird, and then the bottom of my feet were always hurting me, like I had plantar fasciitis, type of, and my hands were constantly in all my joints were killing me all the time. So it was just everything progressively, got worse and worse. And after that, I think I started developing more serious issues.
That swelling was the first one.
Yeah.
After that, psoriasis happened.
Yeah, I got psoriasis. I got gout. I got arthritis, shingles, Hashimoto's disease, diverticulitis.
And then your colon perforated.
Yeah, and then my colon perforated in 3 places, and I ended up in the emergency room with the team of surgeons hovering over me, ready to operate. And it was.
Oh my God. And along the way with all these problems, nobody ever mentioned diet to you as a factor?
No, as a matter of fact, after he went for the follow-up visit to see his gastro doctor, and I asked the doctor, I said, would you recommend any change in the diet? I was already on a keto diet at that point. So, and in my case was, improvement was huge. So, and the doctor was like, oh no, just keep eating what you're eating. There's no need for any change. So, and he was like, considering what happened to you, considering that you're young, so usually that happens to people that are in their 70s and 80s. It's not a matter if it's going to happen again, but when it's going to happen. So we were like, okay, so when? And he was like, oh, you'll come back in 2 months, and then we'll put you under the knife. So,
well, you know what, they made it sound like if I refused to do the surgery now, they wanted to take out 14 inches of my colon. So basically, they told me that, the next time you come back, we cannot guarantee that we'll be able to save your life. That's how
Oh,
bad, this, if things develop to that point, then yeah, it didn't seem like it was a good outcome. So either way, my wife just, told me, we've been doing all this with the doctors. I've been on so many different medications. It put me, yeah, 7 different medications. I mean, it was just ridiculous. I didn't even know how it's legal to drive around like that.
oh, wow.
So it just, nothing was helping, and eventually my wife was, she was on my case the whole time. Why won't you just try? Why won't you just try changing your diet? Because I was refusing. I was like, I'm not giving up my food, But when I ended up in the hospital, that shook me to the core, and it woke me up a little bit. It scared me, Most guys are kind of like that. We got to hit rock bottom before we wake up, got to hit the head in the wall, So yeah, so then after that, I went gluten-free for a while.
Yeah, he's saying gluten-free. That was the first thing, and then removed all the sugars and oils and just basics, So and then we started experimenting with the vegetables, because he went to see the nutritionist. He did that test, intolerance test. And that came up with the results that he was intolerant to legumes, that he was actually allergic to sugar, that dairy was an issue, eggs were an issue. I don't know. There was quite a list of things, like turmeric, beets, showing very, very high sensitivity to that stuff. So after that, that was a good wake-up call for him, that he has to give up certain things in order to get better. So it's not going to be easy. So
Well, yeah, but the thing is, once we started really doing keto, we were eating lots of vegetables, lots of spinach, lots of kale, figs. I mean, I didn't realize, that some of that stuff, broccoli, and we're eating, cauliflower, and I mean, every night, just, eating tons of, salads, and basically there was a point where my joints really started getting worse, and I told my wife, I came in and I'm like, there's something wrong, instead of me now getting better, my joints are getting worse. My hips are killing me. My hips never used to hurt, my knees, I can't squat down anymore. I can't, do anything. My shoulders, every morning I wake up with just excruciating pain. I was like, something's wrong, So after that, we listened, to a couple of those, podcasts and stuff, and decided to go carnivore. And basically, once we went on, carnivore, literally within 6 weeks, I could totally start feeling the difference in my joints. It was just like night and day, the pain just started slowly fading, with every single week. I would wake up in the morning feeling better than I did the previous week. Even after 5 months or 6 months on carnivore, when I think I'm feeling great, every week I'm still feeling better. So it's almost like I don't realize how bad I really was feeling. When you're constantly improving and getting better, that means you still got a ways to go. Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty shocking to me that this really helped me tremendously.
The keto diet, we came across Dr. Gundry. And that was a big eye opener when it comes down to toxins in a food. So we learned about the lectins and a huge effect that has a negative effect that it has on a overall health. So we removed so many. I mean, we were on a keto, but with such a restrictive list of vegetables that we were taking. So when we went, when we removed the lectins completely from the food, I mean, my skin just cleared up. So that was the first step. And I mean, it was from month to month, it was getting clearer and clearer, you know, so all my dark spots went away. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
so and big difference, we were known at first, I started gluten-free, and then eventually over the past, over, I don't know how many months after that, remove the grains completely. When they removed the grains, then the pain in joints significantly dropped down and kind of faded away. So as we were going through the process, and we were constantly learning and reading and listening to podcasts, you know, so it really helped. So it was a process. And I mean, we are also different. I can tolerate some things he cannot, you know, so we see how one size does not fit all. So and even on a carnivore now, you know, I can tolerate much more than he can. So what we learned throughout this entire process is that you really have to tune in your body, you know. So, and any type of a discomfort, that's not okay, you know. So any type of a bloating, swelling, rashes, acne, hair falling out, signs on the nails, that's your body screaming, you know, like, please pay attention.
Those are your
Something is
signals.
bothering me so much. So
Yeah, those are your signals. And it's interesting because I talked to Brett and Danielle Lloyd this morning, and they were saying the same thing, that, you know, he can only eat bacon and ground beef, and she can tolerate a little bit more without getting any symptoms. But how was it for you when, I mean, you kept eliminating, but when you realized that you had to take the plants off the plate, was that a mental hurdle for you? Or did you just go, no, this seems right to take them off, you know?
You know what? I didn't know really what to think. It's just when you know what's nice about, you know, MeatRx and you know, and all these other, you know, carnivore doctors that are on there telling their stories and having other people tell their, you know, stories, you start to see that, you know, there's something to this. Why not try it? You know, I've done everything else. I've taken every other medication. What do I got to lose? You know, so we, you know, especially with the fact that I had gout and that I had horrible kidney stones, you know, so my uric acid was high. And you know, what's the one thing they tell you to do when you have high uric acid and gout? Do not eat meat. It's
Right.
really bad for you. Do not eat meat. That's what they kept
Right.
telling me. You know, I was just like, you know, and I was constantly on allopurinol. Every year they kept upping my dosage of allopurinol, and I still kept getting gout. You know, and it wasn't, my gout wasn't just in my big toe. It was everywhere. You know,
Oh,
in my knee. Yeah, I had it everywhere. I had such horrible back pains in my lower spine, you know, the sciatica and all that stuff. It's all gone. All that pain is gone.
and no, here's no medication.
I'm on no medication. The last time I went to go see my rheumatoid doctor, I had this, I think when we first started, I had some oxalate dumping that happened, and I had a weird like swelling on my hand. And I thought maybe, you know, I fractured something in my hand. Sometimes I thrash around in my sleep, you know. I thought maybe I smacked my hand on the edge of something, and you know, and I kind of looked at it and I thought, okay, well, I got to go see the rheumatoid doctor anyways. So when we were there, you know, I asked her, I go, listen, I'm like, can you take an X-ray, you know, of my hand just to make sure nothing's fractured? And she's looking at my hand. She's like, oh, this is a total classic gout flare-up. You know, and I'm like, I'm not sure. Let's just do an X-ray. She's like, no, it's a gout flare-up. She was so convinced that it was a gout flare-up, you know. I said, well, is there any other way we can really tell? And she's like, yeah, there's an ultrasound that I could do. I can see the crystals in there. You want to do that? And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. You know, they could not find a single crystal in there. So then she finally agreed to do the X-ray. Nothing was broken, you know. And then again, you know, she wanted to shoot me up with, you know, with steroids and all that stuff. And I'm like, no. I'm like, doc, you know what? I'm good. You know, I'm on a new diet now. And she's like, oh, really? Like what? You know? And I told her, and she about had gout. You know,
yeah.
how would you do that? You have gout. You know, I was just like, oh, that's okay. Don't worry. You know, and So yeah, so after that, 3 days later, that all went away, and that was it. And I started going less and less with my allopurinol until finally I just stopped taking it. After 2 months, I think.
Yeah.
After 2 months, I've had no more issues. I mean, it was just like poof, everything went away. Yeah.
That is so crazy that, like you're saying, I mean, kidney stones and gout are the two things they always link to eating too much meat, right? And then here eating the meat cured you of those two things.
Yeah, yeah, everything went away. And the other crazy thing was, so remember I went to Dr. Levy to do my physical.
Yeah, but before that, with that same doctor, with the arthritis doctor, that's the lady that was trying to put him on a Humira medication for years, and because he developed psoriasis and he had such a bad arthritis pain. So she was like, it's a psoriatic arthritis, you know, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, and you should go to Humira. So, and even while on a keto, we were noticing that his psoriasis was getting less and less. Actually, it started first developing all over his body and then just stayed on the hands. And then even that was significantly shrinking. So we were like thinking, I said, why would you go to him when it's the diet, it's working to a certain degree, you know, why would you put him on a medication? There's absolutely no need for that. So, and thank goodness that he kept refusing, and now on a carnivore diet, his psoriasis went away. So
yeah, it's amazing, you know. With time, you start to see that, you know, nothing happens overnight. So you got to give it time. You know, your body is, you know, readjusting and cleansing all the impurities, you know, out of your system. But when I went to go get my physical done, I was what, on carnivore, what, 5 months?
yeah, something
About
like
5 months.
Yeah.
So all the blood work was done. I went to go see the doctor. He's sitting in front of the computer and I'm sitting in his office, you know, and he's looking and finally he leans back and he goes, okay, he goes, mind telling me what the hell's going on with your cholesterol, you know? And I kind of laughed a little bit and I go, it's higher than before? And he goes, yeah, it is, it's higher. You know, I was like, well, I'm like, doc, I'm on a carnivore diet, you know, and he's just kind of looking at me, you know, eye-eyed, like, I'm listening, you know, and I kind of explained and I go, okay, I'm like, listen, doc, you're looking at my whole blood panel. I'm like, is there anything else on there that concerns you? And he goes, no, everything else looks great. I go, well, listen, I'm like, first of all, I've lost over 40 pounds. I don't take any more medication for my gout. My psoriasis is improved 80%. My arthritis is, I mean, also significantly improved 80%. I reversed my Hashimoto's disease. I was supposed to have an operation and have, you know, 14 inches of my colon taken out. That all just miraculously went away. I have no more issues with, you know, running to the bathroom, you know, 7-8 times a day. I'm like, and cholesterol is the only thing that you found that was, you know, high. I'm like, I understand your concern, but I'm not that concerned because I expected it to go up.
Right.
And I'm like, let's talk about this a little bit. And he goes, well, you know, I'm concerned because, you know, you have a history of heart disease, you know, on your father's side and all that. I go, okay, let's do a CAC test, coronary,
Yeah.
and you know, prescribe me one of those and I'll pay out of my pocket. I don't care. And then we'll know, you know. I'm like, just because I have high cholesterol does not mean that I have heart disease, correct? And he goes, no, it doesn't mean that. I go,
Wow.
that's just putting me in a different, you know, risk category. So let's just do this test and see. And guess what? 0, my tests. So the CAC test came out 0. So
Oh my gosh. This is
so, you know, yeah, so everything is good, you know. So and you know, there's just so many weird things that a lot of the doctors, that they're going on some science, you know, that's outdated, you know. Like when I went to the endocrinologist for my Hashimoto's, I asked him, I go, what do you think about changing the diet and stuff? You think that's, and he just looked at me and goes, no. He's like, why would you want to do that? I go, I don't know. I heard some people, my wife, read that, you can reverse it. And he goes, no. And all my entire practice, I've never had anybody ever reverse Hashimoto's disease. This is, yeah, my wife and I both reversed it.
Yeah, and he was like 80 years old, and I was like, it's not that he was some young doctor, in his early 30s, so it was really, and he has a wife at home that completely reversed it, so.
And, after I went back to him, and we had this confirmed from 2 other doctors that I had Hashimoto's. So after I went back to him, after reversing Hashimoto's disease, you know what he said? You're probably misdiagnosed. I go, no, I'm not, doc. I have the blood test results right here. There was no misdiagnosis. Yeah. So yeah.
They won't let it in.
They just won't admit it. They just won't admit the fact that, we did something so simple by changing the diet, and it's reversed so many problems that we've had. It's mind-boggling. To them, it's mind-boggling. Yeah.
Wow.
When I was diagnosed with Hashimoto, my symptoms started like when I was about 43. I started developing pain in my joints in my hand, so in the right hand, and then after that kind of escalated, starting to feel extremely tired. Then my toes starting hurting and kind of getting swelled up. So I was developing gout in my left toe. But what really got me is the feeling of being completely exhausted and tired. Around 3 p.m. I could not function anymore. So, and just energy was drained out of me. I developed a brain fog. I had to work. It was so hard to stay focused and remember the things. And that's when I went to see endocrinologist, and that's when they diagnosed me with the Hashimoto. Although my TSH was just at the border of it was slightly elevated, but they treat you based on numbers. So, and I was like, you can't treat me based on the numbers. You have to treat me based on how I feel. So, she gave me a Centrid, and she told me like Hashimoto is not reversible. I'm not sure if Centrid is going to help you at all, but take it, and that's about it. So I came home. I started educating myself about the whole thing. The first book that I read about it was the Stop That Thyroid Madness. It's a compilation of stories from people that have, extreme issues with the thyroid and the Hashimoto, and I kept flipping, and I was like, gosh, I'm at the beginning of this game, so, and I don't want to end where these people ended up, by being misdiagnosed, by being neglected, kept living and eating what they were doing before. So, and I came up with I found out that the gluten is one of the, was repeating in all these cases as an issue when people remove the gluten, that significantly helped them when they remove the sugars, the oils. And I went back to my endocrinologist, and I said, this is the plan that I have, so I want to completely change the diet, and let's start from there. And she told me, I totally disagree with your approach. This is wrong, and I said, okay, this is my body. You don't have a better solution for me. You're prescribing me a Centrid that it's not going to help Hashimoto at all, so might help with the TSH or whatever. So, and I said, I have the right to do whatever I want to do with my body. So she was like, so what do you want from me? And I said, what I want from you is that to prescribe me a full thyroid test panel every 6 months. So I said, I'm not a doctor. I'm not sure if I will be able to sustain this diet. If this is for the first 6 months or 3 months, it's just going to be a placebo effect, which happens with every study, so, and I said, let's do that for the next 2.5 years, and then we'll see in which direction I'm heading. So after first 6 months, my anti-TPO went completely down. I started feeling like $1,000,000. My energy came back. And I was like so disciplined, you know. So, and what kept me going.
Is this on keto or is this already on carnivore?
It was on a keto. It was back in 2015, but I started noticing significant improvements like within 2 months. So,
Wow.
and as the time was passing, you know, I was feeling better and better, and my the brain fog lifted it. The energy came back, the pain in joints starting decreasing significantly. I still could not get rid of fully of that pain, and I would have flare-ups in my gout on the left hand. But then when I started like removing things more and more from the diet, like I went completely grain-free. I went what I eliminated, nightshades were gone in that first pass.
Basically, our journey took us towards carnivore. We just didn't realize where we were going.
Because you were just eliminating more and more and more.
More and more, because we were feeling better, but you can still, it's not 100%, and we were not happy with not being 100%, you know. So we were just pushing, and as I said, it was a huge learning process, and we were constantly, I mean, I feel bad what happened health-wise, but at the same time, it was good that it was happening to both of us at the same time. We kind of had the support, you know, and we were constantly sharing the new information that we would learn, you know, and it was way much easier to battle all of this as a team, you know, than a soloist. So.
Well, interesting that you both had Hashimoto's and you both had these pains and the gout, and so
yeah,
we're probably eating a lot of the same things together over the years.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, I was a very healthy kid. Even when I came to States, I did not have a doctor here. My first doctor was my OB when I was pregnant with the first kid, you know, so because I never had to go and see the doctor, and he was constantly, you know, at doctor's office. So it was so interesting that he came from one end of the spectrum, I came from another end of the spectrum, and right around 43, 44, we kind of started experiencing issues. So it's I mean, affected him way worse than me, but still it's and the way how I ate as a kid, I was eating always seasonally. So we were not eating tomatoes throughout the entire year, only when they were fully ripe and in a season. So the same was with all kinds of the vegetables, and the meat was a staple food at every meal. So and still when we got married, we were not on a set American diet. I mean, I was cooking always, you know, and making things from the scratch and stuff like that. So, and still, you know, I can imagine what people are going through on a set American diet, you know, with pre-diabetes and everything else. So it's really disturbing, you know, where we are heading, you know, as a human race with what's served to us, you know, as a.
And also, you know, I remember, you know, my migraines.
Yeah.
Migraines, right? So the carnivore diet literally eliminated so much of my problems with the headaches that I was having. Snoring went away completely. I used to snore like a bear. Gone. Everything's gone.
No.
Gone.
So you were having to work during this whole time when you were feeling like hell?
Oh, yeah. There's no stopping. I still gotta provide and, you know, put food on the table and all that stuff. So, you know, yeah, no, it's crazy when I sit there now and think back of what my life would have been if I just knew then what I know now. You know, just growing up as a sickly kid, if I was just, you know, eating differently, you know, geez, think about it. If I was just on a carnivore diet as a kid, you know, I would have been superhuman. You know what I mean? There would be no issues with me, you know? I mean, yeah, it would be, yeah. I just, I just can't believe that it took me to this point where finally, you know, because I was just kind of stubborn. I didn't want to give up, you know, eating the junk food that I love to eat, you know, potato chips, and, you know, I mean, it was just, you know how it is. It's just, it's hard for a guy to give up some of that, those cravings that we have, you know, but once you hit rock bottom, you know, you got to do something, you know, and carnivore diet, in the end, you know, just kind of changed everything, you know, so it put everything in perspective, you know.
And it's just remarkable that you healed so quickly, right?
Mhm.
Because you have some severe
Yeah.
problems. And I remember Dunya kept sharing on Meter X how you had this, like you hadn't been carnivore for that long, like months, and you
Yeah.
had this complete turnaround of all of these
Yeah.
really life
I,
threatening.
I was, remember I was literally living with my back brace on. And the last time I wore my back brace was November 15th. I remember that because I was deer hunting. And I was just in the beginning, you know, first few months of the carnivore. And you know, I was dragging, you know, a heavy deer out, and I kind of pinched my lower back again. But after that, I never had any more issues with my lower back. I mean, I don't wear my back brace anymore. I'm just like I'm like a little kid again, you know.
To me, what was really impressive, because before we would go for a walk, you know, and he would like, after 10 minutes, he was like, I can't do it because my thighs hurt so bad. We would go skiing, you know, I would end up skiing by myself because he would again develop, you know, the pains in the muscles.
You know how frustrating it is not to be able to walk 2 miles without limping and having, like, you know, crazy numbing pain and burning sensation in your muscles. I used to be a soccer player. I ran miles and miles and miles every single day. And then all of a sudden I just couldn't do anything anymore. Something was so wrong, you know.
But then on a carnivore, he went hunting with. He always goes in November to hunt with his friends, and it's a
Yeah, we
10-day trip,
yeah,
9-day trip.
we go to Kansas.
And he called me, and he was like, actually, he was fearing every year that this is the year where he won't be able to do it at all. So this year, after, yeah, he started in August. In November, he went on that hunting trip, and he was like, Dunya, I can walk all day long. I feel absolutely amazing. So
7-10 miles a day walking, yeah, just no problem. And the craziest, roughest terrain, no issues with my back pain, no issues with my muscles, you know, fatiguing on me, cramping, numbing, pain, no, nothing, zero.
And
I
your
was like a
energy's
machine.
good, obviously, if you have the stamina to keep going through these. I mean, I know Dunya said that you go out in the middle of the night in the freezing cold after
Yeah.
work
yeah, that was this
for coyotes and the
Yeah.
snow, and it's
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
often are feeling kind of superhuman.
Yeah.
You know?
I had to buy snowshoes because the snow was so deep. That was the only way to get around. Yeah, you're out there in snowshoes walking around, yeah, 3-4 miles, you know, and from, like, yeah, I'd say from 8 o'clock till about midnight, you know, and then I drive home, get home about 1:30, go to bed, get up, go to work. Sometimes I do that 2-3 nights in a row. Yeah. But the thing was, I was in such good shape that you're just like, why, you know, why not? You know, when you feel great, you know, I just do it.
So you're obviously also feeling stronger then
Yeah,
too. It's not just not hurting and having
right,
more energy, you actually have more physical strength too, right?
right. So here was my wife. She's, you know, doing yoga. She's a workout, you know, nut. So she loves to do that. She's in, you know, she's very physically fit. And she was constantly trying to get me to exercise and all, you know, and when you're in pain, you just, you know, you don't want to, you kind of can't, you know, because then you feel worse.
Right.
But once the pain starts to go away, then you're like, oh, you know what, maybe some exercise will be good for you, you know. And then one thing leads to another, and next thing you know, I'm starting to get into shape again, and I'm feeling good. And that's kind of how it goes, you know. I mean, you got to feel right
Right.
to, to exercise. If you're in constant pain and your joints are, swollen and hurting, it's kind of hard to motivate yourself to work out.
Oh, for sure. And I know, Dunya, you've had some serious gains in your yoga and your strength, right?
I'm noticing a big improvement in my strength. So
Share your video real quick here. Can you see it?
yeah.
Show you a quick, I hope it'll play the sound. It's amazing. Oh my gosh, that blew me away when I saw that. So you clearly have had some gains yourself. Huh?
Yeah, what I noticed, body, just became stronger, So, and what before was a challenge, you're going out of breath, now it's like, this is easy, it's almost too easy, So, and I'm definitely looking for more challenge to it. So what I find in this yoga, like a yin yoga, I'm usually the only student in a class. It's still on a Zoom. This class, it's still on a Zoom, and so the lady's putting like an advanced program, and it's I really needed extra challenge to break a sweat. So
Wow, that is so impressive. And I know you mentioned as well, for you, you talked about your skin and other changes, that things that have improved for you as well, right? Because maybe your conditions weren't as severe, but you've also noticed changes for yourself, right?
yes, and I'm definitely experiencing what people are calling that Zen carnivore. I'm not getting upset over the things. I'm handling stress amazingly. My heartbeat does not go up, and I know that we talked before. I was telling you how I had some deadlines, and usually on those days, it was absolute madness. Now I'm able to stay calm as like nothing's happening, just complete my tasks. This past week and this week, I had extremely crazy schedule. I was working till 11:30 at night all day long. We are sending out some reports out, and it's not going well because the client, it's late with providing us information. Normally I would go insane. I'm just like, okay, it is what it is. Working that late, it does not fall hard. I know it's not going to be forever. I know it's going to be just within this 2 weeks or whatever. But even I worked today, I was like so calm, like it's just amazing. I love that because the brain works much better. It's more focused, it's clear. I absolutely love that part of that.
Yeah. I always see you working super hard. You always look super
Yeah.
focused whenever on a meeting together. And how about you, for Alex, for you, for your work performance? I'm sure it's
Yeah,
been
I'm a dental technician, so we own a small dental lab. So we're making crowns and bridges and implants and dentures and partials and all that stuff. So I work long hours. Yeah, so you have to be sharp, and you can't be fatigued, and you can't be feeling like you're ready to go to bed at 4 o'clock. I work 12, 14-hour days.
wow.
Yeah.
I know what that means because my brother and my dad are both dentists, so I know all about
Really? No kidding. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
We're very close to our lab people. So.
Yeah.
Wow. So what about for your relationship? This must have just taken a huge burden off of all the stress of, having health issues. And how has your relationship dynamic, has it changed at all, or?
We're doing great. We're empty nesters now. So,
Both kids at school,
Yeah.
we're on a second honeymoon. So.
Yeah.
And what about your kids? What do they say? They must know you're both carnivores, right?
Actually, our son turned carnivore, I would say 3-4 weeks ago, something like that. It was, we were preaching and preaching, you know, but it was coming in and going out, you know, they didn't want to do anything with it. So, and we were like, okay, we'll just live by an example, you know. And the biggest change is in Alex, you know, when you see before and after pictures, and just his fatigue level, you know, and how is he, I mean, full of energy now. I think that was a big eye opener for the kids. So, and our son called like, I don't know how many weeks ago, and he asked questions, you know, and I told Alex after that, I was like, gosh, I'm so shocked, you know, I'm so pleasantly surprised, you know. So
Usually after we kind of gave up already.
yeah,
Like,
we
you know
kind of
what?
get do whatever you want to do,
The
you
kids
know.
will be
And
ready
it's,
to- yeah.
especially there at college, and you know how that goes,
Yeah,
you know.
college.
So, and but no, he was he started doing it. He was here, he came home for spring break last week, and just before we left, we went to Costco, and I offered to get him supplies of meat. He took it, you know, took it into college room, has a fryer, the air fryer.
Nice.
And yesterday he called me again, and I was like, how's it going? And he was like, it's going great. You know, I started working out every day. I have more energy. And he asked for some recipes.
Wow, we got to get him on Confident Carnivore.
Yeah, he called
So
me
it's,
like
oh, he called you today. So,
Yeah.
so it's, I mean, it's challenging being a carnivore at college, you know.
Oh,
So
yeah.
especially you don't have, I mean, where to prepare your stuff. You know, you're kind of limited, and the freezer's about this big, you know.
But it'll give him an edge in his studies, you
But
know.
he's in nursing. So, and yesterday when he called me, he was like, "Mom, I'm shocked. I was because they have clinicals, and he was like, I was dealing with some patients that have diabetes, you know." And he was like, yeah, whatever what they're feeding them, it just doesn't make sense, you know. So it's now interesting to see that he's like connecting the dots,
Yeah.
you know. So we need more of a medical professionals with that mind frame, you know. So then
It's so true, because even I just had surgery on my elbow this week I got my I had a plate in here removed, and I'm there in the hospital, and it's like all of the nurses are super overweight, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I get out, you know, of surgery, and they say, "Oh, they offer me juice and crackers." And
Yeah.
now, how is that going to help me heal? Right? And it's like they're so misguided. You see them, and it's just like they're super unhealthy. They clearly all have metabolic issues. And here my surgeon, she's extremely overweight. And I just felt like I wanted to tell her, like, you know, especially if you're an orthopedic surgeon and you need to be, you know, dexterous and all this, it's like you can't, just like, you know, being a dental technician, you need to be, you know, clear-headed and be able to be, you know, very meticulous in what you're doing. And it's like,
Yeah, and you can't be crippled up.
exactly.
In your hands, you know what I mean? And that I was becoming that way. I mean, my hands were not functioning, you know, well anymore because of the arthritis, you know, and the pain in my joints.
And that's like, you think about that, your livelihood. And you know, we interviewed Danielle Lloyd earlier, and she does screen printing of t-shirts, right? Like, so she has to do a lot of movement and all this kind of thing, and she had developed arthritis in her shoulders, and so that's her livelihood. So she was really scared that it's like, well, she's not going to be able to work anymore, and then what is she going to be able to do? So, you know, as we look out into aging, you know, in our 40s, 50s and beyond, it's like, it's so nice to know that you found the answer, right? Because just think about how much, if we are already degrading in our 30s and 40s, you know, just think of what would be next if you hadn't found
I
this.
can't even imagine where at 65, what if I continued on the path that I was headed, there's no telling what that would not be good.
And
I also had tendonitis in my elbows that lasted. Oh yeah, I was having those cortisone shots, being administered, and nothing was helping, nothing. After carnivore, gone.
And when your question how hard it was to give up the vegetables, I love vegetables. I enjoy it. I love cooking, and but I realized after like eliminating, and reading more and more about the anti-nutrients, and I realized that it's not the mutual love. They don't love me back. I mean,
they don't. And
so bad, and I was like, why would I be in an abusive relationship? So they're
an abusive relationship with your kale and your
exactly. So
but what's interesting is I've heard through these interviews, I'm hearing a lot more that people are now, like you guys did, they notice like grains and sugar cause a particular type of issue, and then the plants cause a particular type of issue, and they might double up and they both cause certain inflammatory issues together, but they actually, like you notice the plants were actually causing potentially some of the like arthritis and the joint pain, and they're all bad, but you almost, as you keep eliminating, you start to notice like, oh, even though I'm only eating these 3 last low starch vegetables, I'm still getting all of these symptoms, right? And so then you're sure, that's what it is, right? Without a doubt, because you've experienced it. And that's why for everyone, it's like carnivore is just an experiential thing, right? It's like you can tell people, but they don't believe you until they experience it for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Alex, you basically had a miraculous healing of all of your ailments, right?
Yeah, it really was.
So, what about, I know, Dunja, you said some of your friends have gotten interested based on seeing you both.
We have one couple, we saw them a few weeks ago, and they decided to do it right away. We know one young lady, she's 26, starting experience a bunch of autoimmune issues. She ended up calling me, and I had a long conversation with her when we went through like all her symptoms and stuff like that. And I told her to go carnivore, not to experiment with the keto, because it's going to take, much longer time, and I said, based on our combined experiences, and I said, do not waste your time. She's been carnivore now for 4 weeks. I saw her mom, and it was nice. Her mom was on a phone call because her mom wanted to learn more about it. Her mom went carnivore also. And I saw the lady last week. She told me that her daughter-in-law, and I told them, do not step on a scale, so focus is on a healing. So, because, and you know how women are,
Yeah.
Sure enough, they stepped on a scale, but 26-year-old was 10 pounds lighter. Mom was 6 pounds lighter. So.
Wow.
So, and she was like, I'm so glad that I stepped on a scale, because this gives me, motivation to move on. So, and, but her daughter starting feeling so much better, the swelling. She had the daily issues with the swelling and stuff like that. So she said that went away. So.
And isn't that the greatest gift you could give to people? And I've, through all these interviews, that's been a consistent pattern, that people had done better on keto, but when they went carnivore, it was like everything got better. And so it's just like you're saying, bypass that step. It's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
It is. Because to try to figure out, you can't get enough of the tests, for intolerances and stuff like that. So there's always something, and you do not know what came first. Was it my thyroid, or it was something else, and so instead of like trying to chase things, you do you just decide, go cold turkey, and you will see improvements, because otherwise you're not sure what it is. Carnivore is a true elimination diet, so and we are witnessing that.
And we eat, organ meat. So we eat liver, we eat heart, we eat brain, we eat tongue, stripe, tried.
But we grew up
Mhm.
eating that, so it's not something that we just introduced because Soldino says, eat liver.
Right.
It was just part of our diet, and the fact that he's hunting, even before when he would bring the birds back
By the
or
way,
whatever.
my wife goes hunting with me as well.
Oh, you guys need to take some photos,
Yeah.
a hunting photo shoot.
Yeah. So we would not waste anything, so because you put so much, it's so hard to hunt. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes luck, you can sometimes go and sit in a field entire day and you don't see a damn thing,
Wow.
so it's not easy to provide the meat on a table. So it's much easier to provide vegetables on a table than a meat on a table. So, and I love those stickers, vegetarians are lousy hunters. So then when you bring that home, that you don't want to waste any part of that animal. So it's literally from nose to tail, so. And the same is with deer or whatever he brings home.
That's so beautiful. Actually,
So that's why we grew up like that, and not just growing up, but because he hunts, you literally bring and with the red meat. For a long time, we were not buying red meat because we were mostly eating deer meat. So, and we would have 2 or 3 deer in a freezer. Now with the carnivore, the wild game's way leaner, so we needed more fat.
Right.
So that's we started combining with.
Now we use tallow and pork fat and all that stuff, and so we're always making sure that it's got plenty of fat in it.
Yeah, that seems to be critical to get enough fat to do well on carnivore.
Otherwise, ribeyes that to go to, so that's kind of easy, convenient, so.
But what a nice alignment that you actually like to hunt and that you get to hunt for your own food and eat it nose to tail. I mean, that's like merging your passion now with your and just going back to keto, it's like keto not only is it there, like you said, Dunya, there are too many variables, but it's also so fussy, right? It's like you have to track everything and you just have to, it's just so many ingredients and so much management. And it's like carnivore's easy, right?
Yeah, carnivore is easy, and it was very cold over here during the winter. I got a Ninja grill, so I can make steaks inside, and it takes 7 minutes, 8 minutes. If it's frozen, solid frozen, it takes 20 minutes, and it's done. There's no prep work, there's no fuss or anything. So I feel like I have so much extra time because I don't have to cook anymore. So, and instead of spending the time in a kitchen cooking, I just go for a walk, or do whatever else, read or do my yoga or anything,
So when we go grocery shopping, we just go straight to the meat section we need, and we're out. It's so simple. You don't have to sit there and be distracted, but I don't even look at anything anymore. and just recently, how long ago? A month and a half ago, I quit drinking coffee.
Wow.
Stop drinking coffee.
And it's just like night and day. That was a tough one for me. The coffee was a tough one, but.
And why we did it? Actually, I stopped drinking when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto. Coffee was thing that I cut out right away, and I was not drinking for 2 years, and then I started again. And now being on a carnivore, we're starting experiencing cramps in the legs. And then we started taking salt water, just to have enough minerals. And we started connecting the dots, and in both our cases, we connected that when we are drinking the coffee, because the coffee is diuretic, so because you're not taking the carbs, the water, it's not there's nothing to hold that water, retaining so much water like when you're on the carbs. So, and then when you drink the coffee, drains that water even more. The fluids out of your body. So whenever we would do that, we would develop carbs. And just recently we went to see some friends, and they were like, you want to go for a coffee? It's a social thing, you know, we
Right,
are
right,
certain. And we were like, sure, we'll have a cup of coffee. That night, both him and I developed such a horrible
In the
cramps
middle of the
in the
night.
middle of the
Yeah,
night.
we're
Just
waking
hit
up
us.
spraying our magnesium sprays, you
Oh
know,
my goodness.
cramp. Oh yeah, both of us.
I'm so glad you told me, because my Aaron, he's a carnivore, but he
Yeah.
still drinks the coffee and he's getting the cramps, and I quit coffee and I'm not. So
Yeah,
I'll let him
no,
know. That's so good that you finally figured out what's causing those cramps.
Yeah, and actually, how we said, because in January, all of a sudden, coffee did not taste good to me anymore. So I would take 2 sips, and I was like, "Gosh, this is just not going down my throat." And I loved coffee before. I love the smell of the coffee, you know. And I said, my body is just telling me, stay away, you know. So, and then my cramps stopped, but he still continued to have the cramps, and that's how we started, you know.
Oh,
Thinking, you
that's
know,
what
what
happened to us.
yeah.
'Cause I quit and mine stopped and he's still having them. I'm going to tell him tonight.
That was a tough one for me to quit, but my cramps got so bad that I was getting cramp. You know, normally when I get a cramp, it would be in my calf, you know,
Right.
but my cramps started getting so bad, I was getting them like, you know, in my toes. I was getting them like, you know, in my ankle. I was getting cramp like
Wow.
weird in my wrist. You know, I'm like, how do you even get a cramp in your wrist?
Yeah,
You know?
he was
It's
having
like,
some pain in his arm. He's like, I don't know if I'm sleeping on my arm wrong or
yeah,
something.
no,
Like,
yeah. I was, you know, and then it finally dawned on me. I'm like, it's got to be, you know, it's got to be the coffee, you know, and that was it. It was like night and day. Yeah.
wow. And so I'm assuming you guys don't drink alcohol either then, right? No alcohol.
Occasionally we do when it's a social, you know, like a holiday or something. Maybe we'll have a little bit of something, you know, to toast, you know.
Once
Yeah.
in a blue moon, but on a regular.
Right, but not like on the regular, not just like a daily fare or something. Yeah. Wow. And what about your confidence levels? Have your confidence levels changed at all, or?
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you're feeling good, how can't you feel confident? You know, I mean, can I say it
Yeah.
feels great, you know, and it's you know what's interesting is that we're constantly trying to tell other people, you know, what we're doing, because everybody that hasn't seen us in a while, they're like, oh my gosh, you guys look so good, you know, what are you guys doing, you know? And then you try to, you know, without shocking people, you know, and scaring, because some people sit there and they listen to Carnivore, you're only eating meat, and then they just kind of, you know, they just kind of look at you weird, you know, they just, you know, lift one eyebrow and be like, I don't know, you're gonna die of a heart attack, you know, that's the comment that I get. But yeah, no, I mean, more and more people are, you know, they're starting to listen, you know, because what's nice about social media is people are talking, you know, and there's more, you know, podcasts and shows like this, you know, that are getting around. People are listening, and they're becoming more informed, you know, more aware, you know, and it's important that people hear both sides, because a lot of the media censorship that goes on now, you know, if they don't subscribe to Carnivore, they're going to start censoring a lot of that stuff, you know.
Right. Right.
Yeah, they just will, you know. That's
Yeah, but it's, some people told us, so many people told us that we're totally crazy,
Yeah.
you know, so they expect us to, by now, to be dead, you know. So,
Yeah, same with us. They
and
think
I mean, it just, we are thriving, you know. So, and people that were the loudest opponents of what we are doing have such a serious health issues, you know. And I was like, how you cannot see the big difference, you know, even with the keto. You know, I have a friend who told me when I went keto and I decided not to take my medications for the thyroid, you know, and she was like, you're going to die of a cancer, you're going to do this, that. I mean, fast forward 6 years, I'm absolutely thriving with no medications, you know, feeling absolutely great, looking great. and she had a full hysterectomy. Her head, I mean, how just went downhill. And I mean, my heart is broken every time when I see her, because she could be with me, but she chose a completely different path, you know. So, and it was my choice and it was her choice, you know. And
we get to that point, as you both did and we did, that where you are at that pivotal moment where what the decision you make about what to do makes or breaks your future, you know.
Yeah. And it was the thing, you know, at the beginning, you get so overwhelmed with the information about everything and anything. Broccoli's good, broccoli's bad. This is good, bad, you know. And you just have to. I mean, what I think it was great about us, we did not took something very dogmatic. You know, we were on a certain path, and we knew that we will make a wrong turns down to that path. But we turned back, adjusted, you know, moved on. So, and over these past 5 years, 6 years, it was constantly like that. And that's how we came up to Carnivore, because
going
you just adjust, you know, and you admit, and I think it's so important to listen to your body. Do not ignore the signals. And anybody that it's, you know, listening, and I said, for as long as it's showing up on your skin, you know, and take that as a good thing. You don't want your colon to end up getting ruptured, or to get these epidemias when you're swelling up, you know, and your endocrine function, I mean, goes back.
Because the skin gives you the earlier clues before all hell breaks loose,
right? Yeah, or it's just a simple gas or a bloating, you know. So that's the
I don't burp anymore. I don't have gas. I'm not bloated. It's like all of that I always thought was normal, to be like having an ulcer and heartburn, just like farting and bloated and stomach ache and constipated, and like you just think all of that's headaches, right? You just take that as part of life, right? And it's like
horrible gas. Oh yeah, that was terrible.
Oh, me too.
I mean, this we eat till we feel satiated, you know. You get up, your stomach, it's not bloated, you feel great, you know. It's simple.
So. You know, and the other weird thing is, you know, and I eat a lot of meat, you know. When I was eating differently with my vegetables and everything, you know, I was going to the bathroom quite often, right?
Right.
When I eat meat, sometimes I go maybe once every 2 days. My body absorbs everything.
Me too. I go, you know, like, I mean? That's only like once every like 4 or 5 days now.
So to me, it's so crazy, you know, to think, because the vegetables and stuff, everyone says, oh yeah, you know, it's got so many vitamins and minerals, and but and fiber, but it's not bioavailable. Your body's not
out. Your body, all of it. Like every bit that goes in goes right out.
Exactly. So, you know, and that, to me, that was really eye-opening, was, you know, eating so much meat and barely going to the bathroom tells me that my body is absorbing that.
Yeah, you know? It's all been used to rebuild and heal everything. And
the muscles, Alex does not work out on a daily basis, and he has a muscles, you know, so his stomach is flat, you know. It's really amazing, you know. So, and my body is changing. I did not lose any weight. I'm still the same, but the clothes feels different. My body composition is completely different. I'm like lean. So that's why I'm saying, do not go on a scale. The weight is so deceiving, you know. So because at the same time, what we're experiencing, that you can lose lots of fat, the fat that you didn't even know that you have around your organs, you know. So and at the same time gain some muscles, so you look 10 times better, and the weight did not move a bit.
I lost a lot of weight. I was 237 at my heaviest, and now I fluctuate between 185 and 188.
Wow, that must feel so good.
50 pounds.
And you get to gorge on tasty meat, right? It's not
Yeah. And like I said, I eat about 3 pounds of meat a day. I eat a lot of meat.
that is just amazing.
Yeah. I got some steaks in right there that I'm eyeing right now that I haven't eaten yet.
But
Looks really good.
before we close out here, what advice would you give to people who are just, thinking about trying this? What would you tell them?
I would tell them to be patient to join Meet RX because it's a great community. They're so supportive. They're so understanding. I would advise them to listen to those success stories. That's really inspirational, and it took them years and years to get to this point. Don't expect in 2 weeks and 3 weeks to feel 100 times better. So they will probably go through some rough times, feeling maybe worse than better right away. But eventually, there is a light at the end of the tunnel,
And you guys are a great support system, which a lot of people need. I mean, we're lucky we have each other to support, one another. But to somebody that's doing it solo, MeetRx is a great place to go just to, to communicate and find some support.
And coaches, coaching over there, it's a peanut, so the cost of it's absolute peanut. You will pay more for a co-payment, and your doctor's office, and you will not get that benefit as this. So, and what I love about with any of these carnivore doctors, they lived it. They were fat and miserable, and have issues. So they walk the walk and they talk the talk, so
You're right.
It's really amazing. And all these coaches, they had their rough patches in life. That's why they ended up here. So those are people with real experience and understanding, and I think it's a great community. It's really very great supportive community.
Yeah, if you're sick and tired or feeling sick and tired, you got nothing to lose. Give Carnivore a try. Give it at least 6 weeks.
I would not agree with that. I would go with a 6 weeks. I think that's too short of a time.
Yeah, but it's
For me, like 3 or 4 months, to be committed to really feel, because the first 4 weeks you can feel worse than better, if you start dumping the oxalates, and having cravings and maybe some adjusting to higher fat foods. I see how you can have quite some rough time, so our experiences with them.
Yeah, I started feeling, night and day. So that was the turning point. Yeah, you could really tell something good was happening. So that's why I'm
the same. Mine was like right away. I felt better.
really.
Right. I mean, very early, like you're saying, each week you're getting better.
Yeah.
Even now,
Even now. Yeah.
we'll have to interview you in another 6 months and see. I mean,
Yeah.
because you're just on this upward spiral now, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. It's remarkable.
but you guys definitely need to do a hunting photo shoot so we can live vicariously. You guys can get some cool hunting fashion wear.
We're doing twice this month.
Yeah.
We're doing turkey hunting. So.
Yeah.
Wow, we'll take some photos because I'm very fascinated by your hunting life.
Well, yeah, no, we the whole family was involved. We were a big outdoor family, and everybody hunted. Everybody, shot. Our kids were, on the shooting team and stuff like that. So that was the first thing I did when she came to the States. I got her a firearm owner's identification card. That was her first ID.
How romantic.
The Second Amendment is very important in the United States. So.
You welcomed her to the United States with her.
No.
Oh, I just love it. You guys have been fabulous. This is super helpful. And now when you need to tell some friends, you can just send them the video link.
Yeah.
You don't have to keep re-explaining everything over there.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this with so many other people. I mean, I find these interviews so inspirational. It takes your time and dedication, you know. So, but it's, I mean, I hope that so many people will benefit from this. What you're doing is huge.
Thank you, Dunja, and thank you, Alex. And I agree. I mean, this is like now what I live for. I mean, I've been waiting to hear your story because I already knew, like I've heard tidbits from Dunja about Alex and then herself, and it's like I just was just dying to ask you all these questions. So thank you so much for taking the time out to meet with me and share it, because it does help so many people. I mean, just think, Alex, I mean, you were practically, I mean, you were in a life-threatening
Yeah.
degree of health issues, right? And so it's like for someone to hear that and go, I'm going to give this a try, that will save people's lives. So thank you both, and I'll let you get on to your dinner, your 3 pounds of meat for you, Alex. And
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
we'd love to have you back another day. So happy hunting, you two.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.